Hey everyone, it's Tori, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. For today's video, I thought we could flip through both of my reading and media journals for 2024. Before we get into it though, I do want to mention that these journals are both from Archer and Olive. They are the 8x8 size, so they are square notebooks, and I loved using these for my reading and media journals. They come out with new designs all the time, so even if they don't have these in stock anymore, you can still use my code CMCG10 for 10% off your order if you find anything you like on archerandolive.com. And like I said, I did have two journals for this year. I have January through August in this journal, and then I completely ran out of pages and needed to get another journal to use from September through December. But we are going to be flipping through this journal first, so let's get into it. All right, we're starting out with the name page. I love how this turned out. I got all of these stickers from RedBubble. By the way, I will have myself setting up this journal in a video linked in the cards if you want to check that out as well. But yeah, I love how this name page turned out. It's so cute. Then we're moving over to the books I read in 2023, and my favorite was Fourth Wing, which I actually have to reread before the third book comes out next year. I've got a little bookshelf page over here, and I tracked all the physical and audiobooks I read by coloring them in based on my key. My media and rating goals are over here. And by the way, these are not updated. Since I moved into the other journal, I didn't really fill the rest of this out, so I definitely did read more books than this, and I worked on my goals a little bit more in my other journal. These are my 24 reads in 2024, so this is kind of like a TBR for books I wanted to read this year. Again, not fully updated, but I did read a lot of these books this year, which I'm really happy about. I've got a little book series tracker over here, as well as just another general TBR. And if I did actually read these books, I did a little star rating sticker over here and filled in my personal rating for the books. This year, I actually rewatched 12 of my favorite movies, one for each month of the year. I didn't get to all of them, and one month I actually watched multiple, so you'll see that in this journal. But I also have shows to watch over here, and I just colored in the circle if I watched that season. I actually joined a book club this year, so these were all the book clubs that I was documenting in this journal. This was actually my favorite book club book, The Housemaid. It was so good. I did rate that 5 stars. And now we are hopping into January. So you'll see in my reading and media journals, every single cover page I based on a Taylor Swift album. So for January, I did Midnights, and I think it came out so cute. I found all of these images on Pinterest. I've got a little section for the books I read in January, as well as the movies and TV shows I watched over here, and this layout ends up changing up a little bit throughout the months. And this was the movie rewatch I watched in January. I love Burlesque. It's such a good one. The first couple movies I watched this year were Pirates of the Caribbean, or Caribbean, however you say that. I did watch At World's End. I don't remember what the rating was, and I didn't fill it out in here, but I have a spread dedicated to that, as well as Friday Night Lights. All of my books in these journals have a 2-page spread dedicated to them and a collage, and I also wrote a little bit about each book. I think I'm actually going to blur this section out though for this specific book, just because Onyx Storm is coming out soon, and if you haven't read Iron Flame, I don't really want to give you any spoilers. But yeah, this is my first book that I read in 2024. My sister and I did a Disney Princess movie marathon in January, so we watched every single Disney Princess movie from Snow White to the newest one, which is actually Wish, and I just made a spread to commemorate that. That was so much fun. So here's the collage I did for Burlesque, which was the movie rewatch I watched in January. I also did a spread for both Mamma Mia movies, because we watched those, and I love Mamma Mia 2. A lot more than the first one. That might be a controversial opinion, but I just love the second movie so much. So I'm actually going to reread Throne of Glass in 2025. I've only ever read the first 3 books, and I stopped here because I really wasn't loving the series, but I know it gets good. Everybody tells me it gets good, so I'm gonna power through and see if I like it. For February, I did a lover theme. I love all the pastel pinks. So pretty. We've got the books I read in February. I did a section for favorite quotes, which you'll see I don't do every month, but this was one of the months that I did it. And also just documenting what I watched over here, as well as my favorite movie rewatch from February. So I watched Love on the Spectrum seasons 1 and 2, and I wanted to write about it a little bit. And then I also finished Schitt's Creek this year. Such a good show. I love this one, and I definitely want to rewatch it at some point. We've got Princess Diaries 2. Such a good movie. I love that one. This is for Daisy Jones and the Six. This was my first 5-star read of 2024. Wanted to have this little Dutch door of quotes from Daisy Jones and the Six. It was just such a good book. I really, really enjoyed it. And apparently just 2 pages was not enough for it. We've got Icebreaker, which was also a pretty good book. It was just a silly, goofy romance. And if you like those, I would highly recommend Hannah Grace's books. I also did a Harry Potter reread, or re-listen to, I should say. So I re-listened to The Sorcerer's Stone in February, and I did a bunch of pages for my Harry Potter marathon that you'll see throughout this video. For March, I did a debut Taylor Swift album theme with all like the country vibes and butterflies and that kind of stuff. This was actually my only 1-star read in 2024, and it was my first book club book, which was really unfortunate. I remember, oh my goodness, I totally forgot about this, but I loved Selena and Chef this month. I think I watched all 4 seasons in just a couple days. I just like sat down and watched all of them while I was crocheting. I want to go back and watch these. Such a good show. And I also have a little spread for The 3-Body Problem, which I watched with my parents. Here's that book that was my only 1-star review of 2024. We've got Ramona and Beezus, which was my movie rewatch for March. I love this movie so much. It's so wholesome. Highly recommend. We've got the second Harry Potter book of the series. And then we're getting into April. So Taylor Swift actually surprised us all and announced an 11th album. I think she announced it in February, but we got the Tortured Poets Department in April, so I wanted to commemorate that with doing the Tortured Poets Department as my theme for April's cover page. So we've got that right here. We've got my books read and what I watched. I watched the Barbie movie. I've actually watched this a few times, but my sister got it on DVD and we just kind of like threw it in one day. This movie, I swear, gets better and better every time I watch it. I don't think I loved it the first time I watched it, but after like the 5th time, I think I said in this review, it keeps getting better. I highly recommend it. I'm pretty sure this book, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, is my favorite book of the year. It was amazing. It's got a little bit of like fantasy, dark, romance elements to it. I don't want to give too much away, but I really, really enjoyed this book, and I think it was my favorite of 2024. I randomly watched My Life with the Walter Boys one day, like the entire season. Again, I was probably crocheting, so I had a little spread commemorating that. And I also saw Anyone But You because it went on Netflix. Really cute rom-com. We've got Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which is the 3rd in the series. The Proposal was my April movie rewatch. I love this movie. Such a good one. We've got Bridgerton. I'm pretty sure this came out, yeah, it came out in May, at least part 1, and then part 2 came out in June. But I was rewatching all of it before the new season of Penelope and Colin. I love this show. I did not think I would love this show as much as I do, and I really, really do. I also watched To All the Boys I've Loved Before, as well as finished up XO Kitty. Do you guys know if this is coming out with a new season? I thought it was, but I have no idea. I would definitely watch it if it was coming out with a new season. So this was actually the month that I watched 2 of my favorite movie rewatches, and that's because I watched The Proposal already, but I realized 16 Candles was going off of Netflix soon. And I did not have this on DVD, so I wanted to watch it before it left Netflix. So that's why I have 2 spreads for my favorite movie rewatch in April. This was my book club book. It's called The Only One Left. It was kind of like a mystery thriller situation. It was actually pretty good. And now we are getting into May. And for May, obviously, this is a Speak Now theme with all the purple and the fantasy elements. So pretty. We've got my books that I read and the movies that I watched, and as you can see, I just totally abandoned the quotes section of the last couple months. We've got Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, which is my favorite from this series. It's the 4th book. The Other Woman is one of my favorite movies of all time. I would highly recommend this. It's a rom-com. It's got Cameron Diaz in it. It's just so good, and it's so funny. We've got How to Train Your Dragon over here, and I remember watching this and thinking it was a good movie. I recently rewatched this with number 2 and number 3 as well. I cried during How to Train Your Dragon number 3. I did not remember how good these movies are. So I'm so glad that I watched it recently. We've got Funny Story, which was my book club book of the month. I love a good Emily Henry book, and she actually has another one coming out in 2025, so I'm very excited about that, and I've already pre-ordered it. Now we're moving into June, and for June I did a 1989 theme. This is my sister's favorite Taylor Swift album, and for June I always try to do like a theme, especially in my other bullet journal, that either makes me think of her or one that she picks. So yeah, that's why I did 1989 for June. Only read 1 book in June. If you know that's a huge one. So it took me forever to get through it. So there's Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, which is number 5 in the series. I've got a whole page dedicated to Luna Lovegood because she's one of my favorite characters in the Harry Potter series. I just love her vibe. She's so quirky, and she's an Aquarius like me. So cute. This was my favorite movie rewatch of June. This is my favorite Disney movie of all time. It's too good. How could you not love it? And then we're moving into July. For July, I did a Fearless theme with all like the golds and the sparkles. I just think it's so pretty. We got the books I read and the movies I watched. I think this is when I totally abandoned that quote space and just filled it up with more like collage images and pictures and stickers. Oh, I actually did a mid-year freakout. And I also meant to do an end-of-year freakout. I'm probably going to have to do that in January, and maybe I'll incorporate that into my New Year reset. Let me know if you'd be interested in seeing like an end-of-year freakout, if that's a thing, in my reading journal. So by July, it looks like I read 13 books in total. 5 were rereads, 8 were new reads. I was currently reading the last book of the Harry Potter series. I had a little TBR over here. And these were just kind of like my stats. I really like how this page turned out. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, that's the 6 books in the series. This was Tangled Up in You. This was a vacation read for me. It was cute. Apparently I just liked it enough to finish it. But I always heard about Christina Lauren being an amazing author, and this was actually something that Disney reached out to her to write. So I thought that was really cool, and Rapunzel is my favorite Disney princess, so I really wanted to read this, and I don't think it disappointed that much. Very, very cute and very Tangled-esque. I watched season 1 of the Percy Jackson and the Olympians on Disney+, which was pretty good. And What About Bob was my favorite movie rewatch. This is just something I watch every single summer. It's my dad's favorite movie, so it's always on in the house. The Parent Trap is a movie that I love and I always forget about for some reason. Like I wrote over here, I don't know why this movie wasn't originally on my movie rewatch list, but this is definitely a favorite. I'm so glad I saw it on Disney Plus and decided to watch it because it's so good. And it actually takes place in Maine, which is my favorite place in the whole world, so gotta always watch it in the summer now. This page is dedicated to Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, which is the 7th book in the series and the last book. And then I've got just a page dedicated to my 2024 Harry Potter reread marathon. All of these stickers, by the way, are from Hubman and Chubgirl. If you ever want anything from Hubman and Chubgirl, they've got amazing stickers, amazing stationery. I actually have a discount code, which is CMCG15 for 15% off your order if you want to check them out. But yeah, I also incorporated these dates, which was the day I finished each book. So yeah, I like how this page turned out. And now we're moving into August. August, for obvious reasons, I had to do a folklore theme. And for those of you who don't know, Taylor Swift has a song called August on her folklore album. So that's why I wanted to incorporate it into this month. I read 5 books in August, which is the most books I've ever read in a month. I'm pretty sure ever. And I also watched quite a bit. And this is actually the last month in this journal. And I'm pretty sure August is what set this journal over the edge. And I realized I needed another one. So let's look through these. So Wildfire was the first book I read in August. And I think I finished it in early August and read it for most of July. This was another Hannah Grace book. I didn't like it as much as Icebreaker, but I thought it was still really cute. The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I'm so glad I picked this up this year. This was also, I think, my second favorite book of the year. I was really torn between this one and Addie LaRue, but I think Addie LaRue just won it over a teeny tiny bit, but this one was also so good, and I can't wait for her next book to come out next year. This book broke my heart. This was The Women by Kristen Hanna. It was so sad. I teared up like the entire time I was reading this book. It was very beautifully written. I loved the story. Yeah, I would highly recommend this book. I did go see It Ends With Us in theaters. I did read this book a couple years ago. I wish I had done like a reread before I saw this movie, but that's okay. I think it was pretty well done. I don't really have any complaints about it. The Grace Year was another book club book. It was just like a dystopian kind of world situation. Very Hunger Games. So if you're into that, check it out. I did read a memoir, or I listened to it, and it was The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. And I like to listen to memoirs because I like to hear the authors like tell their own story, if you will. But she didn't actually narrate the story. It was somebody else. So that kind of made me a little bit upset. But still, it was really nice to hear Britney Spears' story. This was my summer playlist. This was a really fun spread to make, and I kind of want to make them seasonal next year, but we'll see if I get around to it. Here are all the books that I read in the summer, as well as the movies that I wanted to watch, and I just checked them off in these little check boxes as I watched them. 50 First Dates was my August movie rewatch, but I love a good Adam Sandler movie, so. And Drew Barrymore is just amazing. I also was in love with Only Murders in the Building. I actually did watch season 4. Again, I just forgot to update it. But I did an Only Murders in the Building theme for August in my bullet journal, and that came out really cool. The Greatest Showman was another one of those movies like Parent Trap that I don't know how it didn't make my rewatch list to begin with. But this is always such a good one to rewatch over and over. And then I think I only had a couple pages left in this journal. So now we are going to move over to volume number 2. All right, so here is my second journal of 2024 for all my reading and media things. And this is for just the last 4 months of the year. This is so gorgeous. I love that Archer and Olive does this on most of their back covers now. These 2 stickers are from RedBubble as well, kind of going along with the inner cover of my other journal. But this one I thought was really cool because they're books, as this is a reading and media journal, and it's got a lot of the Taylor Swift albums on it. So I thought it was perfect for this journal. Scooch this a little this way. So these are the books that I really wanted to get to for the rest of the year. And as you can see, I've gotten to most of them. I'm definitely not going to get to this one yet. I'm pretty sure this is actually going to be my next book club book. I'm not going to get to these 2, but I might finish this one right before Christmas. We will have to see. And then I have a general TBR over here For all the other books I want to read at some point, but not really specifying when. I love how this bookshelf turned out. Again, just coloring it purple if it's a physical book, and green if it was an audiobook. And I'm going to have something like this in my new reading journal for 2025, which I'll hopefully have it posted this coming weekend, so keep an eye out. I've got my reading and media goals over here. As you can see, they're the same goals as the other journal, but I just filled it out more in this one, as well as my series tracker over here. And I did finish the last Aakash book, so I do need to color that in. These are all of my 5-star reads in 2024, and I have a space for my favorite book of 2024 over here when it comes time to figure out what is my favorite book. Again, I'm between these two, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be this one. I've got a space for my book club books as well. We're currently on my friend Jill's pick, and we are reading The Personal Librarian. I'm only a couple chapters into it, but I'm actually really enjoying it so far. Over here is my to be watched, which I've got my shows on this side and my movies on this side. I just came back from watching Wicked in theaters. Literally like less than an hour ago. I went with my mom and my sister, so I can color that in. And then I've got my favorite movie rewatch over here. I did not watch one for September, but I watched 2 in April, and then I haven't watched one in December yet, so we'll see if we get to it. Over here, I've got my 2024 themes lineup. I got all of these stickers from Etsy. I will have the stickers linked down below, and I'll also have it on the screen here. But this Etsy shop had Taylor Swift album stickers, like a whole sticker sheet for each album. So I got all of them because I knew I wanted to use them in this journal, and I just took off all the titles of each sticker sheet and stuck them on this page. I've got book bingo over here. I've been doing really, really well, and I'm reading a historical fiction right now, so I'll be able to color that in. And I definitely want to do a book bingo for next year, very similar to this one. This has just been so fun, so I would highly recommend doing this in a reading journal if you have one. Now we are getting into my little tab section over here, and this is for all of my A Court of Thorns and Roses books, which I am rereading this year. And I love how these spreads turned out. I like how I incorporated like quotes and stuff. This is just one of my favorite series of all time, so I'm really glad to be able to make these collages in my journal and remember them forever. So we've got the first book, which is A Court of Thorns and Roses. My favorite book of all time, which is A Court of Mist and Fury. We've got that right here. A Court of Wings and Ruin is the third book in the series. A Court of Frost and Starlight is a little novella, or the fourth book in the series. It's the worst one, in my opinion. There's not a whole lot of action, but it's still a good time, and it was fun to read it around Christmas time. This book I actually just finished up yesterday. It's A Court of Silver Flames, which is the main character in all the other books. This is her sister's point of view, so it was really interesting, and I really, really enjoy her writing. We've got my fall TBR over here, and I only read one book. Didn't enjoy it quite as much as I thought I would. But then we've also got my little autumn cover page over here, as well as a Halloween watch list, which I did okay. I wish I watched more Halloween movies, especially I can't believe I didn't watch Hocus Pocus. That's a crime. Maybe next year. And now we are on to September. And for September's cover page, I went with a red Taylor Swift album theme. These were the books read over here and everything I watched. This was my spread for Malibu Rising, and this is the same author as Daisy Jones and the Six. I also read Evelyn Hugo last year, and that was a really good book as well. I needed a Gilmore Girls spread, and this just like, it was exactly how I pictured. Just all the fall vibes. I watch Gilmore Girls every single fall without fail. I'm from Connecticut, so I feel like I have to. And it just came out so cute. I love staring at this spread. I was going through like a Young and Hungry watch session. I made it to season 2, but I never finished it. It was just one of those shows that I could just like throw on in the background, not really pay attention to it, but it was still kind of entertaining. Then we've got season 4 of Emily in Paris. I watched the movie Uglies, which came out this year on Netflix. I actually thought it was pretty good. I feel like I thought it was not going to be great, but I feel like Joey King just makes everything amazing. So I really did enjoy this movie. We've got my Housemaid spread over here. This was again a book club book, and it was my favorite book club book of the year. This was so good and made me want to dabble in more thrillers, especially Frida McFadden books. I would definitely read something by her again. I've got a little Halloween Town spread, as well as all of the movie covers up here and how I rated them. It looks like I don't like these movies at all. I watch them every single year, but literally just for the vibes. If you're watching it as an adult for the first time, you'll think these movies are absolute crap, but I grew up with them, so I really appreciate them. And now we are moving on to October. For October, I did a Reputation theme, and I was honestly holding out the hope that she would announce her Reputation Taylor's version at some point this year. So I was like holding on to this theme in the back of my mind for like the month she announced it or whatever. But she never did. So hopefully we'll get it next year. We've got my books read over here, what I was watching. And of course I had to watch Mean Girls as my favorite movie rewatch of October, just because of October 3rd. If you know, you know. And here is that spread dedicated to that movie. I think this is one of my favorite spreads that I made in this journal. I got inspiration from Pinterest for this one, like these little pictures with like Regina, Katie, Karen, and Gretchen underneath as like Polaroids. I think it came out so cute. We've got a Twitches spread over here. Again, I grew up with these movies, so I watch them every single year just purely for the vibes. I did rewatch Stranger Things this year, and I actually have a funny story. So I came back from college, and my mom was watching Stranger Things, and she was halfway through season 2. So I started watching it with her from there. So I watched halfway through season 2 all the way to the end of season 4, and I had never seen the first season and a half of Stranger Things. And it had been years, so I decided to go back and finally rewatch all of Stranger Things this year, and I'm so glad I did. I enjoyed it a lot more than when I picked up at like a random spot and watched it all the way through. I understood a lot more things. But yeah, this is also just such an amazing show, amazingly put together. This is my Outer Banks spread. I don't want to talk about season 4. Season 4 broke my heart, so we're gonna skip it. We've got the X-Hex on this spread, and I said over here, I didn't like the narrator of the audiobook, and it kind of ruined the whole book for me. So I am going to pick up this physical book either next year or very soon. I am not done with trying to like this book yet, but I think I need to read the physical copy. Another one of those movies. I don't know why it wasn't on my original rewatch list. This movie is always on in my house. It's another one of my dad's favorites. I don't know why so many dads like Pitch Perfect. Is that a thing? Like, I know so many of my friends' dads also like this movie. But yeah, the first one's amazing. The other two, not so great. But I will always rewatch the first one. We've got Inside Out 2 that I watched finally, and I did cry as much as I thought I would, but it was still very good. And then we're moving on to November, which is an Evermore theme. I love all like the cozy fall vibes of this. We've got the books I read and what I watched in November, and I found this sticker online. I thought it was hilarious. In the Eras Tour, when she sings Tolerate It, she goes on a table and she like just starts knocking stuff over, so I thought it was funny that this person put a cat on it and it said, "If it's all in my head, tell me yow." This was a book club book called The Family Experiment. It was very interesting and like a very crazy plot line, but yeah, I enjoyed it. This is my all-time favorite movie ever. I reference it on a daily basis. Every time I watch it, I can't stop laughing. It's got such an amazing cast. Like Emma Stone, Ryan Gosling, Steve Carell. Amazing. And I had to make a spread on it. I've probably rewatched this, not gonna lie, like maybe 2 or 3 times already this year. It never gets old. I would highly recommend this if you never watched it. I also have a little corner right here. Let's get that out of there. I've got a blank page right here. I think I wanted to do another movie spread or something here. I can't remember, but I've got a blank page if I need it. This is my winter cover page over here. I've got a little Christmas TBR. I did finish this book. I really want to get to this one before Christmas, but I might not, but we'll have to see. I've got a huge Christmas watch list. I love Christmas movies, and I love this time of year. I will always watch all the Santa Clauses. I will always watch Elf, always watch the Home Alones. I'm actually going to see A Christmas Story play very soon, which is very exciting. But yeah, I love a good Christmas movie, and I recently fell in love with Hallmark movies, so my obsession got even worse. I've got a Christmas playlist over here, a little blank page that I didn't know what else to do with. And then we're getting into the last cover page, which is December. So Taylor Swift technically only has 11 albums that are like official, but she does have a Christmas album. And fun fact, it is the only Taylor Swift album I've ever owned. I don't know why the Christmas one is like the one that stuck around, but it was just always one of those CDs that were like in my massive CD player at my house, especially this time of year. So I figured I could call that the 12th Taylor Swift album. But I did do the quote, "In my heart is a Christmas tree farm," for that specific song, even though it's not on that album. I have read 2 books so far, and it is the end of the Aakash series. I watched all these, and I have not done any other spreads after that. I do usually do a short of all my spreads that I made within the month in my reading and media journal, and I do plan to post that sometime in January when I actually have all my December spreads filled up. So please keep an eye out for that. I am not done with this journal yet, but I did want to share everything that I had so far, even if I really didn't do much for December yet, because December's not over. Some things you will see though, I did see Wicked, so I will be doing a Wicked spread in this journal. I want to do a couple Christmas movie spreads as well. These ones you already saw in the beginning of my Aakash series, but I will also be doing a spread for my book club book. So yeah, I do have other spreads I plan to do for December. I just have not gotten around to them yet because December's not finished. So when it is, keep an eye out for a December mini flip through at some point on this channel. And that, my friends, is both of my reading and media journals all flip through. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe while you're here. Also, don't forget to check out my bullet journal social medias. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!